speakers of other languages. Most importantly, what Kanagaraja is trying to say here is that as lingua franca English arises in the interactions that happen between individuals who adapt the language they use or negotiate for meaning based on the proficiency level of the other speaker. It is always context-based and subject to continuous change. So successful communication in lingua franca English is not a product that you can easily codify, but more of a process underpinned by positive attitudes to difference, plus practicing negotiating for meaning.
Yes, and so as a result of our data collection and analysis and thinking about those two quotes from Rajagopal and Kanagaraja, we've come up with some possible implications for us in our teaching and our teacher training. The first one is that we can see too, as Rajagopalan is suggesting, that there isn't necessarily a relationship between competence in English as an international language and any inherited variety of English. In fact, maybe there's an inverse relationship between those two things. That feeling like a native speaker, as we saw in many of our interviews, is actually a block, an obstruction to an ability to communicate in English as an international language. So we want to carry on with these mixed language assessments. We are going to force our students together to communicate and to learn how to practice using English as an international language. We're going to encourage them to listen, to record, to listen, to transcribe. So Jing did the transcription that you're looking at today. We're never going to do that again. It takes 1 hour at least, Robert, to transcribe 1 minute of interview. So we're going to put it back to the students and ask them to transcribe their own interviews. And what we're hoping for is a process, again, and this is one of our keywords, a process of raising awareness, of sensitising the UK teachers, the British teachers, and the international students too, of the intersubjectivity of English as an international language. We're hoping, as Richard says here, to challenge their assumptions, to sensitise them to the process of communication and learn something about the way that English is used as an international language. And that's all from us. I hope you enjoyed listening to our presentation and looking at our data. And if you have any questions, we'd be more than happy to take those questions. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Question about the first finding, I think we present here.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that you say it's here in this extract you have the mutual understanding.
Mutual understanding.
Is it here, you mean, in this?
Yeah, there's mutual understanding for sociability, mainly for social reasons that Richard has written about. One of our extracts was for Richard.
I'm not sure that it's mutual understanding here in this extract because it's more one-way relationship between the Kate as a native speaker and Tom as a non-native speaker. The mutual understanding happen or occur when two people are trying to understand the meaning of message. But here it means that Kate tried to guide the people, the Tom here, trying to understand something. Not Tom cannot help the Kate. How he help her? Look at it. Because well, mutual understanding is two-way interaction.
Sure, sure. But he can, because she needs him to confirm that her suggestion is correct. To proceed, for the interaction to proceed. So there needs to be a response, which when she gets feedback on, she needs to confirm that. And you can see how in the transcript that he does that and then sometimes steps away from that and then complicates it in some way or adds variables. So actually it's a very subtle way of constructing misunderstanding, in which there's movement backwards and forwards between the two, in which they try to position each other all the time as I'm the teacher, you're the student, I'm the native speaker, you're the non-native speaker, this is understanding, this is misunderstanding. Yeah, so what we're interested in is the movements within this data between misunderstanding and understanding. It's not outside of the data, it's here.
Can I also say, like, to the same question, like most studies have shown this, and another story that is told works in a shop in New York, and a British customer again had asked for the price of a cup of coffee, and she had clearly said the price of that coffee, and the British customer didn't understand. So she had said, what? Oh, it doesn't matter, I'll ask somebody else. So that shows a breakup in the communication. That shows that the native speaker is reluctant to support or to guide the conversation. She's not obliged, I know, but in an instance like this, it is a two-way process. The native speaker has more of an obligation and responsibility to ensure that the conversation is carried out.
Yeah, but these conversations were first-time meetings between the student and the teacher.
Yes.
What do you think would have been the difference if it was a non-native and native speaker, if you weren't getting those awkwardnesses of a first meeting? I think maybe some of this might be coloured by the fact that it's a first meeting, and first meetings are always awkward. And then therefore, that a native speaker who maybe knows a non-native speaker better, then maybe some of these barriers are broken. And if I had a meeting between two English people for their first time, a teacher of, say, science and a student, you probably get all these sort of awkward, because I don't know the person, whether or not, I don't know the nationality, I just don't know the person. I think maybe that's something.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a variable.
Familiarity.
Yeah, I'm sure that is a variable. Yeah.
Yeah, actually I did a follow-up interview with Kate,
Yeah, you did.
and she mentioned about that. That's the first time they meet each other, and as well, the native speaker also feel awkward, embarrassed when she is talking with some stranger and try to get as more information as possible. And you find that Tom didn't like to talk too much and can't talk too much in some way, so she feel a little bit embarrassed as well. So she keep on talking.
Yeah, the teacher, I find I have to get to know my students before I can have that
Yeah,
kind of...
but also going back to your situation, if you've got someone from, is it maths and science or something,
I'm just saying,
if you've got that with two L1 speakers, do you necessarily have the preconceived ideas before you meet them? Do you construct their identity in a power relationship?
A balance between looking at that where you haven't got the L2, L1
What
problem, and therefore you can say have it as a control, is what I'm saying. But then you have a
what
control.
we're demonstrating really are all sorts of power relationships in even that short piece of data. I don't know necessarily, I might be wrong, but wouldn't have thought you would have got that with two L1 speakers.
Our approach is not so much an experimental one. That's not really where we're coming from. We're not really so much interested in the findings. Does that sound bizarre? The findings of this particular study. We're interested in the process of doing it and the lessons that can be learned for us and that we've learned from doing it, and which the lessons the trainee teachers